All right, I'm welcoming Dusty Swehla to the podcast. Dusty is the owner of Panda Marie, and we're going to learn a little bit about that. Welcome and good
Thank
morning.
you.
How
Thank
are
you.
you?
I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, I am so excited about Thursday, and I will tell you, it's I think the last podcast that I'm doing before the conference, and you have been your community has so showed up for you at this conference. We can tell because first of all, they don't shut up about it. And we have discount codes. Every speaker and organizer has a discount code of their first name. And the organizers use the discount code to talk smack to each other on who moved more tickets. But by far, your name has been used as a discount code
Oh, awesome.
to attend the conference among the speakers. And it's really a testament to the community that you're building with Panda Marie. And let's see, I think I remember when your business first opened, but I haven't had a lot of experience or exposure to your business. I'm a little yoga averse. I don't hate yoga, but I hate making time for it on someone else's schedule.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm like, when I do it, I have some apps that I use and things like that, so I can do it at home. And I really enjoy hot yoga because I like to torture myself, I guess. So tell me first, like, how did Panda Marie, the yoga studio, come to be? And when was that? It's not been that long, right?
It'll be 3 years in September. And so it started actually, first off, I wanted to thank you, and then also thank the community of, Panda Marie, just my community that supports me. I've worked in this town and been in this town. I grew up here, worked in the hospital for a long time, worked in the operating room for about 12, 13 years. And then I worked at a clinic here in town, a physician in town. So I really built a relationship with a lot of my clients, friends at that time. Well, then during that time, I actually didn't start, really having a relationship with my demons until I was about 26. So when I talk about my demons, it's typically alcohol. And so I had a little bit of a problem. I had a big problem, actually. And I tried to quit for a long time, many failed attempts. And then I was living two separate lives. So for me, I didn't drink in front of people. I drank at home and then went to work. I worked a lot. I never called in. I was very dedicated to my job. So I was living two separate lives. So a lot of people didn't see that part of my recovery or need for recovery. Well, then I went actually into rehab. Let's see, it would have been almost 7 years ago now, silently. So my husband and my two boys knew about it, but that's it, because nobody really knew that I had a big problem. So with my rehab experience and recovery experience, a big part of that was yoga, meditation, mindfulness, journaling, craniosacral therapy, reflexology, acupuncture. So lots of different modalities that I was just so intrigued with. So my background is, Western medicine and, going through just the medical field, being in that medical field, I understood that part of it. So Chinese medicine and the Eastern medicine really it's just so amazing to me and very intriguing to me. So anyway, here I am now. Thank goodness. Thank God. 7 years later, sober. And I had a yoga practice prior to going through recovery, but it was very much like the hot yoga and go for the workout part of it and the stretch. So people that, are pretty big into yoga love Shavasana, which is the end part of practice. And prior to my transition, I would leave before Shavasana because I'm like, I'm not gonna take a nap with all these people and the whole spiritual side of it. I'm like, this is weird. I go to church. I don't need yoga for my spiritual part of it. So, and I'll talk a little bit about this possibly on Thursday. But with my recovery, I had to really surrender And that's a big part of me changing. And that is literally getting on my knees and asking Jesus to help me. I needed help. I couldn't do it on my own. My son, Noah, he used to, when he knew that things weren't good with my drinking, he would go back to his room and he would pray his rosary, like at, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, and pray that I would stop drinking. So that's a big thing that sticks with me. And I feel that, by the grace of God, both my boys, they've been there with me through all of this. Austin, he's 25 now. Noah will be 20 this month. But they're also my big inspiration with this recovery. So anyway, about 4 years ago, I had thought, well, if this stuff worked for me, like, can it work for other people? Like, how can I help others to live this beautiful life, that recovery is possible, that living your dreams is possible. So at that time, I worked at a different job, which I'm very, very grateful for. I worked there for 8 years and met so many amazing people, had learned a lot of lessons there for sure. And thought, well, it would be pretty cool if I could, maybe do this on the side or something, teach some more yoga and help people with their recovery, or really just not just alcohol, but live their best life and find happiness. Cause I felt I was finding it. I was in that transition. So I thought, well, I think it'd be great to open my own business. And so my name's Dusty, but my parents were going to name me Panda.
Really?
Yes. So that's where the Panda Marie came from. My middle name is Marie.
So interesting.
Yes. So it was going to be Panda or Dusty. So so that's where the name came.
Like what, both names are very like homage to the 70s, right?
Yes. I'm a 70s child. So I went with that, but I wanted it to be personal. So, with the name and this whole business, I wanted it all to be personal. My colors are turquoise. I'm Native American, and that's just the turquoise stone in general means a lot to me. Yeah. And then my tagline is live the life you love naturally. So free from, all the extra things that those Band-Aids we put on our past traumas. So it started off I was going to be I was at a different location actually, and was there for just a few weeks, and I needed it wasn't feeling right. So I reached out to the owner of where I'm at now, Laura Fry, and she was like, yeah, I have this little space available. And it was like one little room at the time. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So I had a plan, kind of a business plan, and I jumped in with with both feet. I was planning just to do it with one foot and one toe. And then the universe made some changes, and I was completely done at my other job. So I was able to I was forced into like really jumping into this. And everything that I do it pretty much 110%. So I want to be successful, of course, at what I'm doing. And I put my all into it. And, it's evolved. I offer so many different things, many different, obviously, modalities, different styles of yoga. And then I offer Y12SR yoga and the 12 steps of recovery. So that is something that is a Tuesday nights. It's a donation-based class. So any addiction, any recovery, food, drugs, alcohol, gambling, anything. Also Al-Anon. So there's a lot of people.
I was just going to ask. I was like, yeah, does that include Al-Anon?
Yeah. Yep. So understanding those 12 steps can be beneficial and are beneficial to anyone. It's not just addiction and recovery from alcohol or addiction from that substance. It could be, addiction to, feeling like letting go of your ego, or addiction to, so many different things. Like addiction is not just.
Don't you think like for the Al-Anon crowd, there is an addiction, an addiction to codependency, to feeling like you can fix somebody when they are an alcoholic. And I think that I have learned that from a friend of mine that's in both in recovery and in Al-Anon. And she's like really been very good at explaining that to me. There's so much I want to unpack about your story. And one of the things that I think is most important to, I don't know if it's most important, but it ranks up close on the top of the list. And Jenny Chatema also talked about this, was that nobody knew when she was in the throes of her addiction, drugs and alcohol, that she, like, this whole double life thing. I think there's this stigma that if you have a problem with alcohol, you are you're a partier somehow, or there's like a label. And I will say my husband is sober, and one of his first conversations with an actual therapist was, they told him, not his therapist anymore, but they told him that because he wasn't like getting drunk and then going to work, that he didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
What do you want women to know? Because I imagine if you're in that space, you kind of, you've got an idea, but like, it's got to be incredibly terrifying to put yourself in the place to say, okay, I have a problem and I need help.
Yeah.
How would you encourage somebody through that?
So I just want to step back just for a moment. And that was, most people that knew me kind of pretty close knew that I drank, that I liked to drink.
Right.
And for me, it was never that I was out, really, especially at the end, I wasn't out partying. I wasn't out, I'd have a couple drinks if Robert and I were to go somewhere. But on our way home, we would stop. I would stop at the gas station for a little something, a little candy bar or something. And then I'd buy a pint of vodka. When I would have another one at home, and I would drink that alcohol until it was gone. So for me, a lot of people similar to Jenny, who I love and adore. Yes. A lot of people didn't know. I also didn't get hungover. So for me, I could go to work the next morning after drinking 2, 3, 4 pints of vodka. So, yeah. And so one of the biggest things for me is that it wasn't necessarily people knowing that I was an alcoholic. It was knowing that I was weak, that I couldn't do it on my own, that I had this, and I'm going to talk about this at the conference, but going to an AA meeting or to a therapist or to rehab, one of the things that happens is you get put in a box. And in that box, it says then, I am an alcoholic. So it's so much more. I am so much more than that, but at the beginning, I was so ashamed. Like, I still sometimes like choke up a little bit because that's such a, when I think of an alcoholic, I think of my mom, who's a bad alcoholic who I don't communicate with. I think of, some people that are like, don't have jobs, or people that, some of my relatives that I don't really associate much with. That's what I think of when I think of an alcoholic. So, but that's not the case. If you feel there's something that is controlling you that you can't, you're ashamed of if you're doing it, if you're hiding it, it's typically something that has control of you. But my message with this is that recovery is possible. You're never too old. It's never too late. You can live this life you love. But letting go of that stigma, that like for me, it was like, oh, I'm too good. It was my ego. Like, it was more my ego, keeping me from really surrendering and asking for help.
Yeah. And I would assert to say that I think everybody's recovering from something, but with substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and a little bit with even like food, or definitely shopping. A lot of it you kind of put as a choice. Like, well, I have the choice to do or not do this. I don't have the choice to not eat. I don't have the, some of the other, you don't have the choice to have been in a traumatic situation or childhood or something like that. So a lot of times I don't think people associate recovery with things that they don't have a choice over, but it really is a similar process, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. So with this, I and I tell this story. I've told this story. So I lived up in Payson, Arizona, on an Indian reservation when I was a kid, and I was in 4th grade, and they took all of us Native American kids. There was like 12 of us in my class, and the counselor had said to me, 8 of the 12 of you And she literally like called out 8 kids and said, 8 of you are going to be alcoholics. So we're going to start now. Helping you guys to prevent that. And I just remember thinking like, I'm not gonna be an alcoholic. I'm not, so that was kind of that little seed. Unfortunately, that was in my belief system from a very young age. So it said that your belief system is set in stone by the time you're 11 years old. So I also call that BS. Our belief system is BS. So for many years, I had to, I was really fighting against that one sentence that counselor had said, because I'm like, I'm not going to be that. Well, for me, it was in my bloodline. It is in my bloodline, but also I think sometimes once it gets you, once that addiction gets you, it's very hard to get out. You almost crawl into a hole. And sometimes if you're alone or you don't know how to get help, you look up and you can't see the light out of that hole. So that's where, for me, having to ask for help was definitely a part of that, where I feel it is a disease. I feel that some people, they don't. I see people that hit rock bottom and then they die. People pass from this, unfortunately. But there's a lot of people that use that as their solid foundation to move forward and to get out of their addiction and away from their addiction. So I kind of, I guess, went on a little bit of a tangent with that, but it is, it's definitely, I think we do have a choice, but that choice is not even one of the multiple choice question or answers. Sometimes we don't even know how to get help. So, but I do feel, once you can, there's a lot of resources out there, but addiction is cunning and baffling, and it's very, very difficult. I consider myself a very strong woman, but I also, there's some things that I'm weak to, and I still have to recognize my triggers. I have to work at this recovery thing every single day of my life. It's not as big of a struggle most days anymore, but it's also, I also don't say like, I'm never going to drink again, because I don't know that. I hope I don't. Today, this moment, this minute in my life, I'm not going to drink. So for me, that's how I keep this ball in my court, in my corner. Just doing what I can right now today, and not worrying so much about tomorrow or the next day, because, I hope I don't, but right today, right now, my choice is not to drink and not to use that substance.
Wow. Is it hard working in this industry, of helping other addicts? Is that hard on your recovery, or is it helpful?
No. So one of the things for me, and just to go back to my amazing community of people that have grown with me, I love the grace that they give me, but they also encourage me. So that's part of my accountability is my beautiful community of Panda Marie yogis and friends and supporters that, I'm in recovery for myself. I'm also in recovery for my children, for my husband, but also for all the Panda Marie supporters. Like, it's a huge accountability process and part of it for me, because I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let others down. But I'm not really an empath. Like, I don't take on a bunch of other people's. I'm here to support you, but I don't take on that energy. I also do some different, I smudge and I meditate and I, kind of let go. It doesn't serve me. But it's not difficult. It's very empowering for me to see people making changes and living their best life. And there's also, this was difficult the first couple times, but people do relapse. Relapse is part of recovery. So that was really difficult for me, because I want to, it's kind of like somebody's drowning and all they have to do is stand up. The water's actually only a foot deep. All you have to do is stand up. Yep. So, I've had a couple of those situations, but I also have to let go of what I can't change, and that's other people. And it's all part of their journey. That might be the last time they, almost drowned. So most people, a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people eventually stand up, and some people continue to live in the throes of addiction. And, some people, we know the outcome of some. So
they're able, yeah. Well, that's interesting. And it's funny that you say I'm not really an empath. I'm not either. And I feel like that's not common thing. I think a lot of people take on other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It comes pretty naturally for me to just be like, well, that's your shit. You're gonna have to, I'll support you. I'll encourage you, but
Right.
I have to deal with that. You're going to don't take those things home. So I suppose that's very helpful in your situation. But you're not only working in the recovery community.
No. And that's, to put that out there too. I have a lot of people that I just come with, or that I work with, that just want to learn how to do yoga, that want to learn how to be more flexible or more balanced. Or, and I'm always dropping in little tidbits and little sayings and little quotes and things. And I feel that we can all use those. I have some mentors that I reach out to and that I listen to on different podcasts and different things that encourage me. So I feel as a human, we all need some encouragement. So that's also what I'm there for, is just to be an encourager and hopefully a motivator, but more than anything, just a friend, a welcoming friend. So at Panda Marie, there's no judgment ever. We're all beautiful, all perfectly made. We're all different. And I say that that's our superpower. That is something that, we need to embrace it. Those things that make you different are amazing. Those are great things. So to really just embrace them. So I work with I work with kids. I teach kids yoga. I just did a training over the weekend, which is kind of funny because I'm not a huge fan of little kids. I love kids, but for a small amount of times. I love teaching teenagers and high schoolers. For me, like the hardest group of anyone to talk to is to go to like a kindergarten classroom, because I have no control over those over the children. So the fact that I just taught this training, and it was so cute. A couple of my nephews came in, and they're like little wild men, and so they were able to come in and try out some of it. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. But I work with all ages, so kids, teenagers, adults, men and women both. So people that just want to learn to be more flexible, but people that are in recovery, or people don't know that really they know they have a problem, but they're not like, an addict. So
there's a lot to be learned from the recovery community. I tend to attract sober people, which is hilarious to me. I'm not a drinker, but I have no intentions of being sober for more than a couple of weeks at a time. But I am sober for a couple of weeks at a time often. It's a very casual social thing for me. But I have a lot of my closest friends. My very best friend has been sober, I think about the same amount of time that you have. And there's so much to be learned. Like one of the things that I've learned in my husband being sober is there's no options when you go out to dinner to drink anything other than water or pop. And I think that's garbage.
There's a lot of places actually. There's a couple places in Dubuque down at Local Pour. They have an alcohol-free menu, like some really great.
A few places are starting to pick up on that, and we are really big at that with you conferences. We do a cocktail thing, and I'm like, we are not putting anything out there that can't be mocktailed.
Yes,
it can't just be like, vodka orange juice. We'll just drink orange juice. No, let's do something fun.
Yes. So. But that's the other thing I just wanted to kind of put out there, that, when I go to an event, or I go tailgating, or I go boating, or if I go, for me, I have a lot of people that say, are you okay if I drink? 100%, you go right ahead. Like this is, I would never put myself in a situation that I knew I'd be triggered. And so for me, this is my thing. My husband actually drank up until a little over a year ago. He drank pretty heavily at home. And he, if we went anywhere, he had a Busch Light in his hand. And but he found, it was a little over a year ago, it was January, a year, and he just wasn't feeling good. So he wanted to make a change. And he's like, after a couple of weeks, he's like, oh, this feels really good. So, but there's a lot of people that my older son, actually my younger too, who's 20, like they'll have a beer, they'll have a drink, that's other people, it's totally fine. So there's nothing wrong if you have a drink, and I don't look differently on you if you do.
Well,
like
and sobriety doesn't have to mean that you hit rock bottom either.
No.
With your husband, it could just mean you want to feel different or better.
Exactly. Yes.
I think it's really important to talk about that and to be open about that. I just think it's not a 4-letter word, and it doesn't have to be.
No. And I think, and that's going back to that I am, you don't have to put yourself in a little box. Like it can be a, you don't have to be like, I'm an alcoholic, I'm in recovery. It can just be, I'm a human. I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to live. So
I got to say, I am with you with the kids things too. I always tell people I like my kids like I like my dogs. I like them to belong to someone else. And I have 2 stepdaughters, and I think having kids with somebody else's life is the perfect way to do it.
That's funny. Yes.
Yeah, the space that I need. Yeah, I think when you said you do yoga for kids, I actually have gone to a kids yoga class when we were on vacation with my nieces and my daughters. We were at like Wisconsin Dells, and they had like a kids yoga class in the morning. And I was like, oh, this will be so fun, you guys. And so we all went. Literally the worst 45 minutes of my life. My kids were
definitely can be a challenge. Yes. This, I'm a teacher, and I work for, on the side for Challenge to Change, which is a company out of Dubuque. And Molly Schreiber, who's the founder of that company, is just absolutely amazing. She was a teacher for a long time and found that kids really need this. They need the mindfulness and the yoga and the meditation and the yogi nap. And because there is so much more anxiety and stress in all of our lives. So she's made it really simple for, the breakdown of the practices. There's 7 parts of practice with these kids' yoga sessions. And it's not like we go in and just do, cat pose or, there's actually a process with it, which I appreciate. She's very
yeah. Well, I'm always grateful for people that are willing to work with kids because it's just not for me. But I want my kids to have opportunities. I think learning mindfulness early. I mean, I was in my mid to late 30s before I even considered any sort of mindfulness practice, any sort of gratitude practice.
Yeah.
So
to have that as a child is, so great. And that's really, I do this because I love seeing, planting those seeds in those little minds is a huge thing for me. I love that part of it. Like I said, I love working with the, 4th and up. Anybody who works with children younger than that, like they deserve a huge, huge gold medal because I can't do it. I appreciate them.
My other question to you is, how have your boys been? I mean, I can only imagine watching mom have. I have parents that have had issues drinking, and I'm hesitant to putting their business out there because it's certainly not something to talk about. Sorry, but and given that my parents were teenagers when I was born, they're very much capable of being alive and well and on the social media watching all the shit that I say. So they'll be. So I am very, very mindful of that. But I understand, watching mom, but watching mom recover as a teenager, your boys must have been teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
How has that impacted them? That must be really empowering.
So I feel like they are probably my biggest supporters. And I wasn't going to cry today or Thursday.
I didn't mean to make you.
Yes. No. No, I just love my boys so much. And I'm very grateful that they've forgiven me. So, yes, I feel it was very difficult. And I remember, a few months into my recovery, it was all about my perception, going into this. Because it was like, well, I'm better. I'm recovered. I'm, sober. So for me, I was like, well, they need to forgive me. I want them to forgive me. Like I'm all better now. Well, it wasn't like that. That's not how it works. So I feel now 6.5 years later, I think that they're still forgiving me for some things that they saw. Sure. Because as we all know, things happen behind closed doors that that not everyone sees, and just, seeing mom passed out on the floor, naked or whatever, that's not an image you can unsee. So, for them, I think, I'm very grateful, for my husband, who kind of shielded them a bit from some things. I also tried not to drink around them too much. I'm divorced from their dad, who's an amazing, amazing man. I have a very great ex-husband. But he also, when the boys were there, that's usually when I drank. I didn't drink every single night, most nights, but if I did drink when they were home, a lot of times it was after they went to bed. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't like this sloshed drunk all the time. I usually had some sort of alcohol in me, but not like falling down drunk. So I'm grateful for my husband and my ex-husband for shielding the boys a bit. But they did see more than I feel that they should see. So for them, I feel they're still recovering from some of that, but I feel that they have forgiven me. We've had many conversations, many talks, but for me being in recovery as their mom, like I wanted them to be okay with me right away. I like to be, I don't want anybody upset with me ever. And, for my kids to be mad at me, and like, cause I felt I'm all better, so you guys should be all better too. Well, that's not how it works. So they had to take their time to heal as well.
But I can only imagine that it impacted them powerfully to watch you go through the process. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Watch you stick with it, to prove that you could overcome it, and then to watch you empower others. I bet that will change the decision-making process for them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel, they definitely, like, once again, they're my probably my biggest fans, biggest supporters. And both of them have, they have seen my resiliency, but I think it's made them stronger men for when they are husbands down the road or dads down the road. So, but yeah, I think it's a big process for them too, just looking at the different perceptions as we recover, as we move through life. It wasn't all me being a mother. It wasn't all about me. So, but they're, excuse me, they are both amazing, amazing young men. But yeah, I'm very grateful for my boys and grateful where our relationship is now. We have, we talk every single day. I send them it's a quote and a Bible verse every morning from a dear friend who sent it to me every day since I've been in recovery. And then of course they say they love me and have a great day. And we kind of go back and forth every day. And then every Tuesday night we have dinner. So I'm grateful for this relationship that I have with my boys, that they've been able to acknowledge my addiction and also to heal as well. They're still healing. I'm sure they have some trauma from that we'll be working through for a long time, but we're all healing a little bit. And
never underestimate the trauma you put your children through. And I only say that coming from plenty of trauma in my life. And I think we want to be perfect mothers, but nobody gets greatness through an easy path. And
no.
It's so you just, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. I always joke with my kids that I'm just trying to ensure that their therapists are in business for this. I'm like, I want you to get the most out of that relationship. And our perception when we're children of what's happening around us is different than the adult's perception of what's happening around us.
Right.
I don't think there's such thing as a perfect parent.
Right. I'm still learning. I remember thinking because I was 15 when I had my first child. So yes. So, I was a young mom and, but at that time I remember, pumping in the bathroom stalls at, Kennedy High School and, some of the mean girls, making fun and, and back then 25 years ago, it was, they weren't like quiet pumps. They're like pumps for like a cow. Like they were so loud. So anyway, but I was a young mom and, I remember thinking like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I think that if I was to have a child now at 40, my 40s, I wouldn't know what I was doing either. So I did the best I could. And I loved my children. I even, as a young mom, I knew how to love them. So,
yeah, that's just inherent, I think. I mean, I'm sure there's people that it's not inherent of them. Like I told you, my mother was a creator when I was born. One of the things that I still have, one of my favorite things that I have is her home ec class, her sophomore year, I think. I was in the project. You know how well, back then in the 70s, they took an egg home to take the baby. Well, she had a baby. And so she made this like photo album with great pictures of like a day in the life of me. And then she would take me to school sometimes. So so I went to her 25-year class reunion just to go. Now this was a while ago. Now it's like my 25 class reunion now. But I don't know. There's a lot of trauma that comes from being a young mom, having your kids. But there's a lot of benefits to it too. The benefits come later.
Yes.
As an adult, I love having young parents.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, it could have been better.
Yeah.
I said it on the podcast yesterday. You go through what you go through, and I'm grateful that I got to grow through a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
I am. Made me kind of a hard ass adult, but
yeah. But it's made you who you are. Yeah, and I think all those circumstances, the things that we've been through in our past, and the things that we put our children through, it makes them into these humans that they needed those experiences to be able to live their lives, I feel.
Yeah, and I'm thinking for your boys, like what they'll understand about, about relationships and about working things out and about, forgiveness and, the power of all of that in a really raw way at a young age. Like, I'm sure it's not the ideal thing, but I'm like, wow, that'll probably be very powerful for them for their whole life.
Yeah. They're both super kind, and both are hard workers. Both of them have the hugest hearts. They are just super, super loving. They have, my ex-husband is remarried and has 2 kids, and they just love their younger brother and sister so much, and would do anything for anyone. They're very great young men.
That's very cool. So tell me a little bit about your husband, because I didn't realize you had been remarried. How did you guys meet, and how long have you been married?
Yep. So we've been married 10 years, together about 13 years. But actually, so he's 5 years older than me. And when I was a teenager, we had met. He was a friend of like a family. We would go to these like Memorial Day, Labor Day parties. And he was older. He worked at PMX. He was a factory worker. So I was like, he's old. And, but never any, just, he was super funny, and, but never thought of him obviously in that way. And then I knew him, I knew his ex-wife. He had roofed one of my houses at one point, but never any like attraction or any of that there. He was just a super nice guy and funny, and just made everybody laugh. And, so about 13 years ago, actually in April, I was out with some friends at the Green Gable of all places, and kind of living it up. And
I rode a Harley. I spent a lot of time at the Green Gable.
But I walked in, and I ran into, and Robert was sitting there. And at that time, when I was younger, they used to call him Junior. And so he's from Benton County. So everybody in Benton County has a nickname also. So they also called him Bubba. So I walked in, and I was like, "Hey, Junior," and he's like, "It's Robert." And like, "Okay, Robert, how about you buy me a drink?" So anyway, he did. And this mutual friend, the friend of the friend, her name's Ann. I messaged Ann and said, because Robert, I had asked like, "Oh, where's your wife?" or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, I'm no longer married." And I'm like, "Oh," and then he's like, "Where's your husband?" And I said, "I'm no longer married." So, anyway, I messaged Ann, and I said, "Is Robert still married?" just to make sure he was being honest. And she's like, "Yep, he's single." And, so anyway, down the road, come to find out, Robert had messaged Ann the same thing and asked if Dusty was single. And, he replied, "I'm going to make out with her then." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Robert." So, so anyway, we've been together pretty much ever since. He makes me laugh. He is a huge supporter of me. He wears Panda Marie stuff always. He's a great, great dad. He has a son, Riley, who lives with us. That's a senior. So, Yeah, Riley, I've been part of Riley's life for a long time too, and he's a great kid. And yeah, Robert's a great dad and a big supporter of me and loves me unconditionally through all my shit. And, just is a big supporter in general of me. So.
Yeah, I could tell, we had talked about him coming to be able to see your session and able to get that worked out, and that was really important to you. And I could just tell that was, I could just feel through your message that you're like, oh, this is like super important. Like, let's see how we make that work. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit because, you do need your support crew no matter what you're going through.
Right.
And
right.
It's nice when they live at your house. It's helpful.
Yeah. And I don't talk a lot about this, but, with marriage, as in any relationship with my children, with other people, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And there was a time where, Robert and I, just a couple of years ago, actually, we weren't on the same page. We weren't even really reading the same book. And we had to go talk to somebody as a married couple. And, we both now, thankfully, after some therapy sessions and some work and some communication, we're now on the same page and we're on the same team. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So I'm grateful for the kind of the bad times or the tough times, the challenging times. But I'm also super grateful that, we've been able to work things out. And I'm going to talk about this, but he's one of my major VIPs, very important people, along with my children.
Yeah, well, marriage is hard. Like,
yeah.
No joke. I've been actually married 3 times, and I can tell you it's very easy to get divorced. Very easy.
Yeah.
I don't regret getting divorced, but I certainly could have tried harder.
Yeah.
So it's that was not the right space for me, but it is, and it's hard to make it work, especially when things are hard. How do people get in like if so I mean, we've made it clear what you do is not just for people in recovery, it's definitely for all people. How do people find out what kind of classes you have and where they can sign up, or how does that go?
Yep. So on my website, it's naturallyfeelingbetter.com. I'm also on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Snapchat with Panda Marie. And so that's a great way to get in touch. You can also just email me or message me if you want to come to a class or try a class out. The classes, we do still require masks within the classes, the whole class. And then every class is $15, or you can buy a punch card or unlimited for the month or the year. But even to make an appointment with me, you can schedule right on our website. I also have a couple books that I've written. They're on Amazon, and you can purchase those right from there or from the website. But yeah, you can just book right on the website. I also have some virtual learning available on our website, some different classes. So if you want to do something more on your own, that's a possibility. I'm on YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel, Panda Marie, for some different yoga classes, some healthy living classes. I'm a nutritionist as well. So I help people with just living this healthy lifestyle with food and finding, everybody's different. Everybody needs different nutrients, and like to do different programs. So I can help you if you're gluten intolerant, or you want to do keto, or you want to just learn to live really healthy. You want to figure out what macros are. So I can help with all of those things. So lots of different facets that I can help people with, and really just living this healthy lifestyle. Just one last thing I wanted to put out there. We have a couple fun things coming up in the near future. So June 26th, this is, I guess, my first real announcement with it, is we have a yoga fest. It's going to be in Hiawatha. And one of my favorite things is to go to big yoga festivals, Wanderlust in particular, and going to those in big cities. And we're offering that here in Hiawatha. So a big, we were approved through the city or through the health department to have 250 people. So we'll start selling tickets April 7th for that. Wow. And just a full day. We'll have food trucks and breakouts.
Where will that be? Will that be there at the park?
At Guthridge Park, yep.
Yeah.
It will actually start with a 5K, so that is optional. That's included in your tickets. And the city is helping with that. I partnered with the city of Hiawatha. And then we will have one big, huge group session. I have a DJ in the park. I have Ben Spellman coming from Des Moines. He's amazing, just super, super cool vibe. And then we have breakout sessions with, you know, some local amazing people.
That
and
is
then
huge.
yeah,
This is huge. Like you're talking about it like you're gonna have like a workshop on Saturday.
yeah. It's
Huge.
and with another breakouts or a full session, you know, 200 yogis in the park. And then that night, the wonderful, amazing, beautiful Elizabeth Von Presley is performing at the park. So 6:30 to 9 that night. Yeah, so it's a full day, and once again, tickets will start being sold April 7th, just because it's all been approved, but we actually still have to have it go through the city council.
Yeah. No, I understand how all that goes too.
All those little loops. But we'll have food trucks in the morning. Stillwater will be there. We'll have food trucks over the lunch hour, and then some in the evening.
Wow, that is incredible. And I am just going to predict you're going to sell that out. I happen to have some experience with selling things out. So when that goes badly, please get in touch with me.
Well, I would love it if you could make it, even though you're not big into yoga.
That idea of yoga in the park outside, not constrained, like learning from other people, music, and that sounds perfect. I actually like yoga. I just don't want to do it on anybody else's schedule. I'm real stubborn. That is amazing. I am so excited for that. Well, I saw your post where you had a picture of the Hiawatha building, and I was like, oh, are you going to use that to have bigger classes?
Yeah. People have been asking me what's going on. So it's June 26th. This year, you know, starts at 8 a.m. and goes till about 9 p.m. So you can make a full day of it. The evening part of it is open to the public. So we'll be putting it out there. As you know, Elizabeth is just amazing. She's such a great, first off, she's an amazing human.
Yeah.
Amazing human, but also just such a great, talented performer. I've seen her perform many times, but really just a cool chick. Like just really, you just want to be in her presence. She's amazing.
Yeah, she is awesome. And I'll say this, high key, not low key. She has a virtual concert coming up that you can buy tickets for now, and then you can start streaming it the day after the conference on Friday. And I did makeup for it, and I was blown away. I can't even believe it'll be like going back to the 80s and watching like the MTV when the good music just keeps going and going. It'll be like watching MTV from the 80s. That's what it'll be like. Go watch it.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. She is just, you know, I went to her Christmas show, and, you know, in some of those outfits, first off, she looks so great, but then to dance, sing, and like all the different things she's doing, she's very talented. So I'm excited to have her there that evening, and just to really help spread her base of followers. And, you know, some of the, we're going to have some sound healing that day. That's one of the breakout sessions, meditation, Buddha yoga, which is so fun. And then we're going to have another breakout session just talking about astrology, numerology, tarot, you know, those interesting things too.
Yeah. What a great way to tap into that kind of stuff, especially if maybe you're not so into it, like to get exposed to and see what maybe you would be into.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
It sounds like the ultimate girls' day to me.
Yeah.
I mean, guys are probably welcome, I'm sure, but you know.
Yes. Yep.
That is
awesome.
I'm
Excited.
Do you are you familiar with who David Goggins is?
That doesn't sound familiar.
So he's this crazy fitness guy. Has an amazing story. He's all about he's ex-military. He's all about being hard, and I mean, this guy runs like ultra marathons are like kids play to him. 100-mile races, 200-mile races, crazy things this man does with his body. He's really an anomaly of a human being. And all of the trauma he put on his body eventually led to some real bad medical problems.
Yeah.
And this hard ass military guy that was all about, and is all about no excuses, you know, going the distance no matter what, achieving no matter what. It ended up in Western medicine couldn't save him. It was yoga that saved him. I bring that up because it's like, it's no, I don't know. It's just not hippy dippy thing that a lot of times people want to pretend like it is.
Right, right. Yeah, it's more about, we all know how to work out, but not very many of us know how to work in.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with yoga, and really, connecting with your breath. My only medication is meditation. I used to be on many different, anxiety, and nothing wrong with those at all. But different medications to get me up during the day, to help me go to sleep, and to help me get through my day. And I don't take anything anymore. And it's due to my, my morning practice today is I typically go to the gym, and then I have some time to meditate, a little bit of yoga, and journaling every single day.
Power, taking control and the power of your mind and your thoughts is very powerful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to let you go with the rest of your day. I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit better, have you on and I'm very excited about your yoga thing with the summer. That sounds just what 2021 ordered.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that we all need it. People are wanting it. They're wanting to get out and interact and have, of course, we'll have all the different regulations that we need and precautions and stuff. But, people need these kinds of, women's conferences and different things to empower one another and to motivate and inspire each other. So I'm really excited about it. I have a couple retreats this summer, one down at Lake McBride, one in Dubuque on the Mississippi in the fall. And then a year from actually right now, March 5th through the 19th, I have 2 separate sessions, but I'm going to Costa Rica to lead a yoga retreat.
Yeah,
so
I heard.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. You're doing amazing things, and I love the community you're creating. I think I really believe community is the missing piece from most people's success puzzle. And it's really awesome to see so many people tapping into that, through you conferences and seeing what you're doing with your community and watching your community gel with mine. It's been so amazing. And I can't wait to see what happens next. So thank you so much.
Excited. Well, thank you for all you're doing. I know it's, I have no idea actually how hard it is for all that you're doing, but I'm very grateful.
You're about to find out.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm excited. So, well, thank you very much, Kendra, and looking forward to seeing you very soon.
Yeah, you too.
Okay,
all right.